you're used to doing what needs to be done, even if anything else around you happens. You go, okay, I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3. So that mindset of consistently doing what needs to be done, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like doing it or not, which is your discipline. Your discipline basically is, I'm going to do what needs to be done, whether I like to do it or not, whether I feel like doing it or not. I will do what needs to be done. That's discipline. So your discipline like that becomes consistent, which now leads into perseverance. Because perseverance, if you think about it, is the simple fact of, I don't want to do this. I don't feel like doing this, but I need to do this. Yeah. So in that case, in that little thing over there, you now have this trained perseverance. So whatever it is that they put in front of you, you are as a person, you already have the ability to persevere through anything, because you are constantly putting yourself in that scenario. So whenever something else new comes in, you be like, I can handle this.
Yeah, you've got all those references from before. You've trained that muscle.
There you go.
You know, it's interesting you say that. Like, I was the other day I had a workout. It might have been that night I was telling you about when I planned my night the day before. But I've written down like a number like I wanted to hit with certain reps and stuff. And I didn't get all of it done before working, and then I worked a 12-hour shift, and afterwards I was feeling like tired, but I wanted to hit those numbers, and I made myself do it. And once I did it, it was like, oh, okay, so I could do that even after doing that amount of work. So it's like it sets a new sort of benchmark for you. So it's like, even if I'm tired, I can do that. Even if I've done this, I can do that. So there's no excuses now. So then the next time I'm in a situation where it's like, okay, I need to do this thing, and my brain's going, oh, but I am a little bit tired. It's like, well, that's not the deciding factor.
Isn't that? I think it's a human factor, whereas we tell ourselves we cannot do something even if we know we can, or we say to ourselves, oh, it's hard, even though we know it's not.
It's weird, man.
I don't think it's weird. I think it's there to give us our challenge or change or growth. So if everything came to us easily, we'd never learn.
But the thing I find, not weird, but the thing I find maybe weird is that challenge is in us. It's not even the external stuff. At a certain point you realise it's not the external stuff, it's you. That's your real nemesis. It's the voice in your head saying you can't, or the voice saying this is difficult. Like, your worst enemy's in your own brain.
You're your worst enemy. Because that, like you just said now, right? The same thing about that is like, every single one of us is going through something.
Yes.
Everyone is going through something intense. Everyone is going through something so bad, so life-changing, so horrible, right? But here's what's interesting. If person A came to you and said, person A can be going through hell and high water, right? Person A came to you and went, oh my gosh, this is my problem, F my life, da da da. And then you find out that person A's problem is just they can't decide to wear a pink or a red dress. In their head, from their perspective, that's the worst thing in the world. For you, it's like, just freaking wear the pink one. That's it. So their problem in their mind is so big, but then when you see their problem from your own point of view, your own scope, is nothing. Same thing for my issues or your issues, is what it is. So we cannot be going through something, but in someone else's eyes, it's nothing. It's easier to fix. It's just, you just do this and do that, because we're not emotionally attached to that problem. But once we have an emotion attached to the problem, it becomes an issue, which now goes full circle to basically teaching yourself, whether you feel like or don't feel like it, you do what needs to be done, which is your discipline and your focus and your consistency and your perseverance. So however hard it is, you're used to working against the current.
Yep. Yep. And something else I've noticed, like if I'm doing something and it's difficult, there's this part of me that will get frustrated sometimes, and it's like it wants to just be like, oh fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore.
Really?
Yeah, there is it depends on what it is, but with certain things, like
Right.
I have this part of me which I can feel trying to kick in, but what I find is once I commit, it's almost like I relax, because I know I'm getting this done one way or another, whether it takes me this time or that time or whatever. And then oftentimes once that locks in and that commitment's there, then it just works out much quicker anyway. Like I think there's a willingness to do whatever it takes, which has got there's a kind of power to that I'm finding. Like everything I ever fully commit to, I just excel.
Would that be because when you commit something, you don't see it as you have options? Does that make sense? So
maybe that's what it is.
So So if I have a task to do and I go, okay, if this doesn't work, at the slightest hint of resistance, I'm gonna quit it and do option B. Does that make sense? Because people do that to go, the first push they get pushed back. Oh, it wasn't for me in the first place.
Yes.
And then they move on to something else. But then when you say, okay, I'm gonna do this to the very, very end of it and see how far I can go with this, and then you go far, and you're like, no, I've done so much. I can still do one more. Persistence, right? You still push, and then you realize that there was a wall there for a reason. You had to push that wall to see what was on the next level.
Yes.
But some people get to that wall and they go like
most. I would say, to be honest.
Yes,
with you.
most get to
most.
And they push and they go.
They go, oh, it's a wall. Now I'm done.
Because they have options. When now bear in mind, we all have options. But when you've put down your mind and got it zeroed down that I'm going to get to this end of this if it takes all night, there you go. That's the magic of it. You're going to push and go, I don't care. We keep pushing. And then when you push and you go past your limit and then realize there's still more to be pushed, doors open.
That's exactly what I want to talk about, because, I remember the word decide, for example, its Latin roots mean to cut off all other possibilities. Same thing you were just saying. It's like you're not giving yourself other options once you make that decision.
Nice.
And decide. I think the Latin etymology means basically cut off all other options. Where's it going with that? Oh man, the brain was on fire while you were talking to say something.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, no. What I was gonna say was, in terms of hitting that wall, I see that all the time. Say we take meditation, for example. There's a lot of people I speak to who'll say, oh, my mind's all over the place and and oftentimes people tell me, oh, you're very calm, you've got very calm energy, and I'll say, well, I meditate every day, and they say, oh, I try meditating, I can't do it. You know how many times I've heard people say that, as if there's some people that can meditate, but then there's others who just can't. I just don't have that ability. I think almost everyone has tried to meditate.
Seconds and it was for me, so I quit.
Exactly. I couldn't stop myself thinking. It's like, well, that's not it. The idea is to have more awareness, to not get caught up and lost in your thoughts, and that will happen anyway. But it's to keep coming back to that center. Keep coming back to center. But adding on to that in terms of never giving up, I think this conversation's gonna be good, man. I think the culture we live in now is completely almost against what we're discussing now, because we have so many options all the time. So let's say, for example, you want to watch a TV show, for example. Once upon a time, I don't watch TV, right? But once upon a time, you'd have had 3-4 channels to choose from, right? When the movie comes on, that's you. Unless you got I'm going back now, right? But unless you got like a video or some other kind of option or satellite or whatever, you're gonna watch what is there. Now there's so many thousands of different options for what you could watch, right? Even on one platform. So you can start a film and be 30 seconds into it and be like, I'm not really feeling this. Let me do something else. Like there's no need to do.
You can't commit anymore.
You don't need. Yeah, you can't. Like one person described it as the tyranny of choice, because people think, oh, we're so free to have all these choices, but in a way, it's a kind of tyranny to it, because you're not committing and you're not dealing with any difficulty. As soon as anything's difficult, you can just bail out. Everything's so easy. Like, we're not hunting for food. We just call an Uber Eats. Like, everything can come so easy, and I think it doesn't train you to be persistent. It doesn't train you to stick through. It's just like, let's say you're reading a book. If the book, a lot of good books are difficult, and it might take you a while to really get into it.
Yeah.
But if you're not committed to it, you're just gonna be like, I don't like this book. Next.
It doesn't train you to have a hard skin. It doesn't toughen you up, because you've never seen resistance. You've never seen push. You've never seen hardship. So the moment there's a hint of hardship, you go, oh no.
Let me go a question. Let me ask you a question. Sorry, I'm getting excited. Do you find, because this is something I noticed a lot in the boxing gym with the younger fighters, let's say you're sparring with them or you're training with them, once it starts to get difficult, because you will go through those moments where you get tired, even if you're in condition, you have those moments where kind of fatigue hits you. I've found a lot of times with the younger fighters, as soon as it gets difficult, they kind of mentally just collapse. Like, to go into those darker places where you gotta like keep pushing and then find a second win and a third. How do you see any difference between younger versus older people you train?
All the time. Till today. Every day. I say every day. It's so the older generation grew up seeing older generations being stoic. Which is, so us growing up, we saw the men who went through hell and high water plain face. It seemed like they had no emotions, that they were not emotional. No, they were very emotional, but they never showed it publicly. So we grew up seeing that, knowing that when you dig deep, you find out that they have a heart in there. And they're as human as you are. They're more human because they sacrifice more for us, right? And
That's an excellent point.
We knew that later, that their ways worked for them because that was their time, right? Now, that's what we saw, but we had a disconnect between us and the next generation. So what we see today are the younger generations, right? What happens is they've not seen stoic and indifferent men. Their media is surrounded by lots of shiny, glossy, female-based and feminine-based situations. Whether it's men or the women,
very reactive.
It's very reactive, and everything you see around them is like, oh, whenever something happens, I have to react in this way. I have to be overzealous. I have to do that. So they've not, like you posted a few days ago, which is like, you need to be a man. You need to see a man. I love that. That's beautiful.
I think D.L. Hughley said it, and I was like, man.
And it's not a lie, because if you've never seen how a man operates, you're not gonna get it. I don't care what the world says, but I couldn't give a rat's ass about that. If you've never seen how a man operates, you will never get it. You cannot understand how men operate from watching 1,000 women. It doesn't work. All it takes is to see how one man operates.
It's so logical though when you put it like that.
Damn. It's so simple.
It's so simple and it's so logical. You never know how a man operates.
I say this because I have students. I have people that watch me. I have people that see what I do, and I have people that